I look at a lot of dealership websites, and everybody has about the same stuff. You look at a Chevy store, you look at the next Chevy store, and everybody has the same home, about us, new, used, financing. So I start wondering, why are these things the same? It's just because this works the best, or because when we bought the website, it just came like this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how do we improve this template that we were given so far. What do we need to do that? How do we grow the traffic to this website? So I can tell you that most of you don't know what traffic you have on the website, or you have a certain amount of traffic and you just live with it, and you work on getting the phone calls, or you work on how many emails I get, but nobody really works on actually growing the traffic. So I want to point out that we move a little bit from, we used to just build a website 10 years ago because we had to have it, and a lot of the templates that we have nowadays are a result of that. Now, on the other hand, we do business on the web. Not that long ago, you read automotive news, and they were wondering, can you sell cars on the web? This is not that long ago. So I studied computer science at the University of Washington, and we used to do a lot of this stuff. Like when, I remember we had a project that was a website for Boeing when I was going through college, and we'll do like, you want to buy a wing for an airplane, you go here, you go there, these are the different type of wings. We don't do that in the car business. When we sell a website and we meet with the dealerships, we work 90% of the time on the homepage. So we work on, the dealership tells I got an outdated design, it just doesn't look good, I want to look better, or you got this little gizmo, the other guy doesn't have it, or there's just something I can't do. And I really would like my website to do this. So I change vendors, or I design the website different. So, but 90% of that work goes into the homepage. Nothing else really changes, or people are not concerned about what happens to everything else. So I start asking myself, if I was a dealership, why would I change my website? Because I want a gizmo, I want to change this. And in the end, all the questions and all the answers came to the same thing. I just want to get more business. Really, that is the end result of the website. That's what I want the website to produce. I don't want my website to make me more friends. I don't want the website to make me more famous. What I want is I want to get more business. I want to sell more cars, get more leads, sell more cars. So how do I do that? And I came with two things that I can improve on the website. Out of all the things that I look at, how do I know that my website is getting better? So there are two things. One is I can get more traffic. If one person comes to my website every month, I may sell one car. If 100 people come to my website every month, I may sell 100. If 1 million people come to my website, so the more people come to my website, the more business I may do. And then the second thing is, if I get one guy that comes to my website and doesn't work, can't find stuff, he doesn't buy the car, so I didn't sell that one car. So what I was very interested in, can I make it so easy for these guys and so nice that every single one that comes buys a car? Some of you have a good idea about the traffic that goes to your website. 5,000, 6,000, some of the dealerships in this Bellevue area, 10,000, and then you sell 200 cars. Imagine if every person bought a car that came to your website, that would be unbelievable. So a great website, what I want to talk about today is, I want to show you how we do both. How do we grow the traffic on the website? What are the things that Google says we need to do to grow our website? And how do I get a conversion to do better? So how do I do this? Do I work on the design, on the layout, on the colors? Or do I work with this thing called SEO? And the answer is we have to do both. So what can I do about the website layout? And this is usually what you guys work with the website vendor, the layout. And my message is a little bit interesting here today. because one of the things that I can tell you about website layouts is that there's a lot of information and research that will tell you, without a doubt, what people do on the websites. There's a tool that costs $10 a month that is called heat mapping that does something like this. So it tells you what people do, and I'll show a bigger shot. It shows you what people do on the website. So this is an Infiniti dealership. So this tool tells us what do people do when they come to this dealership. And as you can see, like that's new, that's used, that is the search. So when dealerships tell me, I want to have a search, I don't like a search bar in here, so it makes it confusing because we already have it here. So it doesn't matter what you think, this is what people do. People tell me, I want to have more banners, I want to have 25 specials on my website. Nobody clicking on it. This is chat, but the banner which is here, we can talk about why. And I think about that stuff sometimes, even though it doesn't matter. But I think about why people don't click on the banner. I think that people go to your website and they want to buy a Toyota Corolla, and there's a really nice ad that Toyota is selling RAV4s this month. Well, the guy doesn't suddenly want to buy a RAV4. He came for a Toyota Corolla. So what they do, they go to new Toyota Corolla, and then they want to see the specials and they want to see the incentives and all that stuff on the VDP page. The banners we see, and this is a Toyota dealership, same result. No traffic. We also see that people don't go below the fold. Very, very, very little. So some dealerships want to do all these things that go down on the homepage. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I don't want you is to be confused. That you think, I got all these things well done right here. Says, but nobody's going there. So you have a stage. The stage is right here. And we waste 30 or 40, I don't know the percentage, but this is a big chunk. We waste that on a space that produces very little. So if I was a dealership, what I would do is I would really spend time thinking, if I have one chance, I have 1 second or 2 seconds, you come to my homepage and you're going to go search for cars, I got a couple seconds to show you something that if it is so amazing and interesting, I might get you to click. That's what you should do. So instead of having 25 tiles or banners, however you want to call them, have 1 or 2, and make sure you think about those. Because this is your stage. And the nice thing about websites is that we can put it, we can wait 30 days, and we can have a really good idea on whether your idea worked or it didn't work. Nowadays, you can get data that is very interesting. We used to have something here that said, confirm that this car is available. So we measure how many people click on things. So on a few dealerships, my partner Dave Page, he changed it and put click to confirm that it's available. And what percentage went up, Dave?
That's now the second highest leading form on all websites.
But it happened when we changed confirm that it's available, when we changed it to click. You wouldn't think about that. You think, well, if it says confirm that it's available, I just go and click. Well, when we put click, when we told people what action to perform, then people use it a lot better. If a website doesn't measure that and all they do is copy what other people do, we made that change 3 months ago. Other website companies still have the same message that we know doesn't work as well. Changes don't make sense unless you can measure them, because otherwise we're just guessing. Sometimes people make a change and they say it's working great. How do you know? Well, we sold more cars this much. But maybe you did something on the radio, so we really don't know. The websites are very interesting because it's very easy to lose some percentage on one end and get a percentage on the other. If we don't measure what we do, we're just guessing. So this is how we measure. This is how we measure if the changes that we make sense, because we do measure what customers do. I realized that people were not clicking on the specials on the homepage. And again, I don't know why. I think that people want to buy a car and they come to your website and they like to check what you got. And I think that people click on the specials once they go into the SRP. So once they're looking at all your cars, the specials show in between, and they click on those. But we didn't see people clicking on the specials here. So what I saw at Magic Toyota was that they had an absolutely amazing higher number of clicks on cars that were one owner versus regular cars. 10 times more. So I told Magic Toyota, hey, I think it would be very nice if we actually had a link here and here that says one owner. We know that, I think it was like 70% of the people that go look at your used cars want to see one owner cars. Let's just make that easy. So when you go to Magic Toyota, you just do click, click, all the one owner cars. So this is the stuff that is interesting in the design, that we can actually create pathways that lead to more business. This is kind of what I was looking at. This is only, this wasn't 30, even though it says 1 month, this was only like 1 week of data. So look at the difference between one owner. This is a Toyota dealership, different one owner, certified. Look at specials. So for those of you that don't know, VDP stands for Vehicle Detail Pages. So that's how many times somebody went and played with this car, this car, or this car, or this car. That's how many, that is the difference. So I realized we need to showcase something else than the specials. People don't care about the specials that much. So that is what we can do when it comes to design. Don't go by gut feeling. Go by what you can measure and see that works. So what is the second piece that I can do on my website? How do I grow my website? So before I go into this, I want you to understand one thing. Some people argue with me about this. There's a correlation between the number of people that go to your website and the number of business that you have. That doesn't mean that you can put a pay-per-click ad that says we give away free beer at Toyota XYZ. That traffic is obviously, that's a joke, but that would be not relevant traffic. What I mean is, if we grow the traffic with relevant people, if we advertise Toyota cars and Toyota services, those are people interested in what we sell. Our business is gonna produce more. And in that sense, I always have dealerships, which I think that very few vendors have asked. In the last 10 years, how many times a vendor came and asked you, has your traffic changed on your website? I ask this all the time. Most people don't know. Most people don't know, and I think it's a very interesting, So what I tell dealerships is, have a growth strategy, support it, and don't change it. One of the bad things about the internet is that, unlike TV or radio, where if we put TV ads and we showcase our name, people remember the name when the TV ads are not playing anymore. So it's a little bit different, right? On the internet, if you build things or you do things and you shut them down, they're gone. Because most of the times, the internet, all these things that you build on the internet are pathways. Like somebody types Ford XYZ in Seattle and you show, so that's a pathway from that search into your business. But people don't remember specifically that actually they found XYZ Ford dealership. So it's a little bit different. So remember, one of the bad things about the internet is be careful when you reset things. Think about it. So how do we go about creating a traffic that has, a website that has more traffic? So this is not what I came up with. This is what Google tells us that we need to have. You can search for this. It's all over the place. Google says, we like to see websites that have inbound links. So people linking to your business. We like that. We like to see traffic from multiple sources. We don't want to see traffic just one place, to your website. We as Google think that you've got a small business going. We like to see a lot of people going from this website to your website. And very recent, Google said, we like to see quality content. Like, we want you to have your own stuff. Before, you could just copy stuff from somebody, paste it on your website, and to a certain degree, Google will index that. And Google said, no, we don't like that, because what happens is, the internet is becoming just like, you search for something and it's the same thing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. What we like is if you create your own stuff, we're going to show that very well. But then there's a certain type of volume that you need to have. You can't just create one piece of content and say, I got it. You need to create some volume. And then one thing that is important that I like to mention is you need to have different types of content: database, blog entries, text, image, videos, and so forth. And let me explain that a little bit. I play sports, I practice martial arts, and then when I was a kid, I remember I told the coach, I really don't like doing this. And the coach would come and say, we're going to do that one 100 times. I was hoping that you will say, if you don't like it, just do the one that you like. And turn the other way around. We can't just do the one that we like and expect that a year later, we just gave one signal to Google, and Google said, I want to index these guys great because they build this stuff. You need to play with all the cards that Google gives you. You can't just do the one that you like. Just real quick, just in case you guys, some of you might not have it clear, SEM, that's pay-per-click. SEO, that's organic. Pay-per-click, you guys know how that works. You pay, you show. I'm not saying you shouldn't do pay-per-click, but that's not what I'm talking about here today. You should do pay-per-click. How much or how little, that's not what I'm going to talk about. You pay Google, you show, and that's all there is to it. And there are companies that have great strategies about how you go about that. So how do I make an SEO plan? How do I do this stuff? One very interesting way is to have bulk content. And bulk content is something that you either have it on your website platform or you don't have it. This is not something that you can actually build yourself. Everything else that I'll show after this, you can actually do. This one you cannot. I don't want bulk to sound like it's a negative, because sometimes bulk sounds like a cheap thing. What bulk is we actually have ways to create websites that have a lot of content. And let me tell you how this idea came about. We look at bookstores, right? And I'll show you Amazon has, there's like 300 million pages indexed. If you go to Amazon, they create one page for every book, even for different editions of the same book. They create one page for every single one, and they tell Google, hey, we do have this book for sale. And Google indexes that. So if you want to find a book on a particular edition, Google will show it. We realized that dealerships had a couple interesting things. We look at service and parts, and they have one page for service and one page for parts. And dealerships didn't tell you, for the most part, we sell these parts, and we sell all these services, and we can ship parts. And I look at dealerships, and I ask for a dealership that is a friend of mine, I say, how much money you got in parts? So I got $800,000 worth of parts in my warehouse. So, wow. So I go to your website, and I can't find them. I can't find a form that tells me how to find these parts. So this was one of the first dealerships that we put in this platform here. This is Harris Ford. There's a way to search in Google, how many pages has Google indexed for this dealership? You can go to your Webmaster Tools. Obviously, Google has a tool that allows you to check how many pages they're indexing, because they want you to know that what you build gets indexed. You can also cheat, and instead of going to Webmaster Tools, you can just type site : www. Then your domain. And Google says right here, it's kind of grayed out a little bit, it says 1.3 million pages. That's how many pages Harris Ford has indexed in Google. If I look at Ford of Kirkland, they have 1,460 pages. That's flat out just a difference between systems. One system created pages for every service, every part, everything that they sell around the cities that are servicing, and another system didn't do that. There's just a flat out service system. This is a Toyota of Tacoma, almost 400,000 pages. Toyota of Kirkland has 1,200. What Google is telling you is that when somebody types a search in Google, they have to have a page that is indexed in order for them to show something that belongs to your website. And all that is based on keywords. And I want you to remember that to the customer that finds you on a long tail search, you do not have 1 million pages. You just have one, that one that they found. So don't think that having 1 million pages is a negative thing. Customers don't see that. Only the robot in Google sees that. The customer that types, there's no Toyota dealership in Lakewood, for example. So a customer that moving into the Lewis McChord Air Force Base may not know that there's a dealership in Tacoma, so they may actually type Lakewood or Lewis McChord Toyota dealership or close to or so forth. There are all kinds of different searches happening in Google, and that's how we play those long tail searches. So what I like you to remember is keyword expansion. The more keywords that exist on your website, the more chances Google will index your website. And I want to show that, and it's very interesting. So, when I check Toyota of Kirkland, I live in, my office is in Mill Creek, what you can actually do, sign up on the dealership's domain, and you can put Mill Creek next to it. Toyota of Kirkland has the keyword Mill Creek once in their whole entire website. Just once. That's it. Which is fine, and it's not a bad thing. But Magic Toyota has the keyword Mill Creek 1,000 times. So what Magic Toyota has is, Magic Toyota may have a page that says, if you want to buy a tire for a Toyota Corolla, we do deliver to Mill Creek. Magic Toyota may have a page that explains how they can deliver that. Or you can have a page that says, if you live in Mill Creek, this is how you drive to Magic Toyota. You can give customer directions how to get to your dealership. And obviously it's very difficult to create those by hand, so that's what these bulk systems do. Another thing that is very interesting, Ford of Kirkland is the #1 Ford dealership in the state of Washington by volume of sales. And I thought about this. It says, do they sell lifted trucks? Yes, they do, but only used, no new, right? There's no such a thing as a new lifted Ford truck for the most part. So what happens is when I check lifted trucks, they have the keyword on their website 0 times. Most of the times, inventory pages don't get indexed, so the options don't get indexed. So what happens is when you type something like lifted trucks for sale in Kirkland, Ford of Kirkland doesn't show. It's not because it's a bad website, it's just because those keywords don't exist on the website, so Google couldn't index it. Because the keywords don't exist, Google doesn't know that you sell lifted trucks. Google knows that you sell Ford trucks. It's all about the signals that you give to Google. You have to understand the signals that you have, the signals that you don't have, and you need to be able to have them on the websites. There's some keywords that are coming up. This is a keyword that I see in Google coming up a lot, EV for electric vehicle. So, same thing, I checked Toyota of Kirkland, they have 2. And this is not a bad thing, I'm just trying to make you aware that you might not think, oh, well, nobody's going to search for EV, because the way the manufacturer calls the cars might be plug-in, or electric, or so forth. However, people go to Google and they search however they want to search. So when we search for EV for sale in Kirkland, the dealership doesn't show. Kirkland wasn't, just to be fair about all this, is that not a lot of people search for EV for sale in Kirkland, but you change Kirkland for Seattle, and there are a lot of searches going for that term. So that term is coming in our business. Sometimes people tell me, well, but I don't know if people type those searches, if they want to see, I don't know if it is cool that my pages show. Well, let me show you what happens when you don't show. So I type Ford rebates rented. Sound Ford didn't show on the search because the keyword rebates is not part of the keywords on their existing website. Just in case you guys check, Sound4 is working with me now. They were not at this point, so just in case you see my name on the website now. But so what happens is when I search for rebase rented, here is for showing there. Let's imagine that here is for wasn't showing there. This is what the customers get. They get World Law Direct, they get Lease Trader, Car Dealers 411, Auto Trader, etc., etc. Somebody will show. And if it is not you, it's going to be usually a website trying to get a lead. And then they'll sell it to you out of ITIL or so forth. So, do you think that this bulk content, is something that I made up or that's something that I invented? Absolutely not. You look at Amazon, they have almost 300 million pages indexed. Amazon has been doing this for a really long time. eBay does this, Craigslist does this. Cars.com has 12 million pages indexed. And all they do is sell cars. That's it. This is how a bulk content page looks like. It gives directions to the customer, tells the customer you do business, tells the customer what areas you do business. That's all it does. So that is what a system can do. What can we do? And very recent, Google has told us that they really like to see quality content. Quality means unique. You build it, nobody else has it, so you didn't just copy it from Toyota, so you put it on your website where every other Toyota dealership has it. That's not unique. What is interesting about unique is that it allows you to go after the searches that you want to go. So you said, I just really want to show when somebody types Corvette C7, the example that Nick Gordon was showing, I just really like to show because I just bought 10 of them. And I'm really want to get into the Corvette market. You can actually build content that targets those searches. And a lot of times you will be amazed, and I will show that, you will be amazed that your competitors don't target those searches either. They're totally open. This is how quality content looks on the website. The difference between quality content and bulk content is that bulk, usually, we don't show it to the customer unless they find it on Google. We don't have it in the menu, okay? Because it's not a page that is interesting to the customer being in the menu. How to get here from here to here. That is just a customer that is somewhere and they want to find very specific information, right? Quality content, I like to put in the menu because actually we can offer something interesting to our customers to check about the product that we sell. So these are the type of contents that we create. 2013 Toyota Sequoia, Seattle, and that is Toyota Tacoma showing that search. So you think that there was a page written about the fact that you can drive the Toyota Sequoia from Tacoma to Seattle. It's a great experience. It drives great. You can put a video from Toyota. You can put a video that you build. You can talk about the driving experience. And what happens is when somebody searches for that, Toyota of Tacoma, which is not close to Seattle, Toyota of Tacoma shows in the search. Again, keyword expansion. Toyota of Tacoma otherwise wouldn't have a way to tell customers that you can drive your Toyota Sequoia from Seattle to Tacoma, Toyota to Seattle, and so forth. The quality pages have to also have, besides the content, you guys don't do a sloppy work. You have to have a good URL structure. You need to have a good page title, geolocate the words. And there's one thing that I found that it was very interesting. A keyword that didn't show on almost any website was the keyword for sale. I was very surprised about that. Very few websites have actually the word for sale. And when you look in Google, a lot of people actually type things like Toyota Corolla for sale. And then they'll type, well, I live in Seattle, so I put Seattle. I live in Tacoma, and I put Tacoma. And I'll show you, you'll be amazed that nobody shows in those searches. So there's more work that you can do on the pages. This is a 3-screen page of content that, so you need to do deep links on the pages. So if somebody lands on your page, you need to put a link to your inventory so they don't have to go all the way back to the menu to find where your cars are. Put an SEO footer, just like you do on every other page. Put your keywords, description, etc. Now, one thing that I recommend is, if I go to most websites, like I just showed Toyota of Kirkland, their SEO keywords are exactly the same for every single page in the whole entire website. So one day somebody built that site, and somebody said, okay, so keywords, Kirkland, Seattle, Bellevue, Toyota, dealer, and so forth. So they put those keywords, and it's fine, and it was fine, it was fine. Nobody thought that maybe one day we would like to show in Mill Creek, which is a small town behind Kirkland. So that's why the keyword doesn't show. So if you're going to spend the time creating pages, don't be lazy and copy paste the keywords that you have on every single other page. If you create a page about somebody driving, I think that this is a Jeep dealership. If you create a page about the new Jeep diesel coming, and you can type things like, hey, I live in Everett, even though this dealership is not in Everett. Said I live in Everett, and I drove the Jeep diesel, and I really enjoy the drive from my house to the dealership, and you're trying to get to show on an Everett search. Make sure that the keywords and the SEO on the page also reflects that. Don't send Google two different signals, and don't be lazy and just copy what is on your website, because then your keyword expansion is going to be limited to what you do. You can put real photos of the cars at your dealership. You just don't put the VIN number and so forth. It's just a photo of a car. But I think it looks good when you have actually a real photo of the car. So that's dealerships have asked us in the past also to put different keywords on the code on the pages. And I will say no. If you write a page about an experience, if you want to really index in Google the right way, keep everything going after the same market. Make sense? Don't try to build one page that goes after everything. Sometimes people like to write a page that says, well, you know, I'm driving this Toyota Corolla in Seattle, Bellevue, Kirkland, Mill Creek, Canada, Africa, and so forth. That's not the purpose. Let's go after one keyword search, and let's go after that. So, this is, for example, Infiniti Q50 Seattle. This one is pay-per-click. So that is the Infiniti dealership closest to Seattle. I don't know why here they both show yellow. But so yellow is pay-per-click. So the Infiniti dealership next to Seattle is paying to show. The Infiniti dealership in Kirkland built one page that talks about driving the Q50 from Seattle to Seattle, and they show number one on that search. Very easy to do. Because they put that also in their blog. Actually, this lower one, that is their blog. You can reuse the unique content on a couple pieces that you have. Whether it's a microsite or a blog, you can use it on a couple pieces. No Facebook. Facebook doesn't get indexed in Google for SEO purposes. It's great that you guys have Facebook, but for SEO purposes, whatever you put on Facebook, the people that come to your website doesn't see it. Only the people that go to Facebook see it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying be aware of that. So this is one of the interesting ones. You know, Porsche 911 Tacoma. Larson Porsche is not in Tacoma. They're in 5, so it was difficult to get them to index in Tacoma. So we created a page to say, we do sell to people in Tacoma. Imagine that Larson Porsche didn't have that page. Guess who shows on the page? Cars.com, Auto Trader, every car listed, AOL, and Yahoo. That's how these companies get their traffic. Not because they advertise on TV. And I don't, and it's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just telling you that the way this stuff works, I didn't make it up, I didn't invent it. Cars.com and Auto Trader have been doing this for a really long time. This is very common knowledge, just dealerships don't do it. Honda Accord for sale in Seattle. And this, I'm sorry that looks so small because I really wanted to take a screenshot of the whole page. You will think that somebody will show, right? Not even one franchise dealership in the state of Washington shows in that search. Now let me tell you who shows. Cars.com, CarGurus, Yahoo, Everycar-Listed, Craigslist, KBB, Udo, Basta, and CarSoup. Let me tell you who is paying to show. Link with Honda, Honda of Seattle, Rental Subaru, Toyota of Seattle, Bellevue Honda, and West Hills Honda. What would you pay when you can build a page that tells the customer that you service and sell these cars to people that live in Seattle and you could show? It is very common. We see this happening a lot, that customers do a make, model, and the price information, and then geo-target the search. You do not have that information on your websites usually. Prius price information for Bellevue or in Bellevue, that is a very high search, and there was no information about that. Let me tell you about the Prius, which was very interesting. I was looking to buy a Toyota Prius, and I found it extremely difficult when I went to the dealership websites to know which one is which. You know, they got the 5, they got the plug-in, they got the hybrid, they got all, 5, I think it's 5 different ones. The only way for me to know the difference between each other was actually by the price. There was a Prius for $20,000, and there's a Prius for $40,000, so I can tell these are different. I actually had to go to Toyota.com to learn, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if I own a Toyota dealership, maybe if I have that information for my customers, Cars.com and AutoTrader.com and all these guys will not be showing on the searches that my customers are doing. Yes?
Would that be part of the VIN decoder? I mean, could that be a issue with the VIN decoder not decoding the specific?
No, what happens is Google doesn't index the inventory because it changes too fast. And also, you can't rely on having the options on the VIN decoder. So what happens also when you look at the difference on the Prius is, 90% of the options are almost the same between one and the other. There's only like the little package at the end that makes the difference in the price, right? When you look at the options in the package, it was difficult to know the difference. Also, the cars are becoming so different because of all the technology that it really was easier when I went to Toyota and just like, okay, so the plug-in has this and this technology's got another engine because it does this, okay. But I had to leave the dealership. So if you pay attention, what happens is Edmunds, Cars.com, all these guys grab the data from Toyota, they bring them to the websites. So Toyota is not actually the one that shows when somebody does the geolocate, when somebody types Toyota Prius plug-in Seattle, Toyota doesn't show so well. Cars.com, AutoTrader, and that's. And then what happens is you say, okay, well, I should buy one. They put the lead, and that lead gets sold to AutoBytel, and then AutoBytel comes and sells it to the dealership, and that's how that business works. So, content is also one thing to remember is uncommon searches are very interesting. If you type things like biggest Ford dealership in Washington, nobody shows because nobody has that sentence in their website. Jeep Diesel, which when I wrote this, the Jeep Diesel was coming. We wrote a couple things about Jeep Diesel for one of our customers, and they showed everywhere. Not because we're so good, but because nobody had anything. And Google has to show something always. How can I use blogs to play with this content? And I'll tell you, there are two types of blog that matter to us. An internal blog and an external blog. And people argue with me about this. An external blog is really not necessary. You can have this on your website. The reason why I like having an external blog is because if we change website provider, if I buy another manufacturer, if I buy another dealership, if I do anything that requires me to use this content that I've been building for the last 5 years, what do I do now? When you have a blog on a WordPress database, you can actually feed it or use it very easily. When you write the pages by hand on HTML, which is great for your website, you need to get in by copy-paste one by one. Trust me, I have done that before. And after 5 years, 800 pages, it becomes very challenging and time-consuming to do so. So that's why I like external blogs, because actually we have it right here. So if one day we need to use it, we can actually feed that data, RSS the data. It just gives us that flexibility, that's all. So, I also got a lot of heat for this comment. The blogs that I preach are not intended for people to read. Good quality content, that's what people want to read. What I really like to use the blogs for is what I call a low quality content strategy. And I am interested in what the manufacturer does. And I'm going to give you a very interesting example. So Dodge had a new line that it was called Black Dog. But no, the very expensive versions of the regular Dodge cars that they sell. But nobody had them. Nobody could get all of them. But customers could search for them. So how do I do this? How do I write about something I don't know, I haven't seen? So we went to Dodge. They had these great articles, and we grabbed what Dodge has, and we wrote a very small piece that said, hey, just in case you are a customer of ours, and you are interested in these new units that Dodge is making, we can order that for you. So the blog also gives us a secondary asset to use in case we have a problem, but it also gives us blog tags, and it allows you to change the data that the manufacturer is creating. Make sense? That is the difference between quality content and a blog. The blog, what I always tell dealerships is, use some of the data that the manufacturer produces, because the manufacturers produce very good stuff. And you can deep link it into your website. So this is, for example, Barrier Audi. So this is other stuff that's like, Audi has like stuff all the time, because they got these fantastic race cars and these engines and all this stuff. And if you're a guy that is into Audi, it's not a bad thing that you can find this stuff on the dealership's website. So, again, the difference between an external blog and an internal blog is really the same. It's that we're just copying the external blog into the website. So we pretty much build a page with the content that the manufacturer produce and with our stuff, so we make it unique. It's not much different than quality content, but they're just easier to produce because we're copying most of it.
So Yago,
Yes.
Toyota prohibits microsites. You can only use your.
I'll go over that. I'll show you. I'll show you how we. Toyota prohibits microsites if they are about Toyota.
The dealer is only authorized to use the Toyota name as their approved DBA.
So if I am a dealership selling lifted trucks, even though I'm a Toyota dealership, I could have a microsite about lifted trucks in Seattle.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I can do, and I'll go over that, and I tell dealerships every manufacturer has rules, not only Toyota. Just go by the rules, and you can't use like Lexus, you can't use it no matter what. So okay.
You would just
Play over.
have to take out the word Toyota.
So, for example, the blogs, and at one point I used to tell dealerships, buy your name, Toyota blog, and Toyota said, well, you can't do that, and I really thought about that, and I said, actually, I think it's better if you geolocate your blog, period. So, for example, Linwood, I check in Google, and the keywords Linwood used cars, it was unbelievable how many times people search for that every month. So I said, okay, I'm going to buy some URLs, Linwood used cars. Well, some people thought about that a long time ago. But I actually bought Linwood used cars blog.com. Boom. There I have it. So I was able to create a blog for the Toyota dealership in Linwood without breaking the Toyota rules. So I'm not, I don't tell dealerships, hey, let's twist the manufacturers like, hey, there's many ways to achieve the same results and abide by the rules. I understand the manufacturer has to protect their name, copyrights, and so forth. So whatever we got to do, we'll change it accordingly to that. This is how sometimes, like I told you guys, we wrote about Jeep Diesel. So that is the blog, that is a microsite. No, that's the microsite, that's the blog. That is Dwayne Lanes. Dwayne Lanes is in Everett. We type Jeep Diesel Everett, and a dealership that is 20 miles away shows in there. Now here's the interesting thing. No Dodge dealerships have diesels yet, but they will. And when they have, we had spot number 1 for 3 months. It ain't gonna be so easy to take it. So, social as content. let me say that I'm not against social media. I don't do social media. I encourage you to do social media. All I am interested in is on making you realize there's a few things that are happening with social media. So, social media is a closed network. Whatever you put on Facebook doesn't go anywhere else but on Facebook. So if you got 500 friends on Facebook, and most of them are your wife, her friends, your employees. So actually you really have like 200 clients. Some people have more. Don't get me wrong, I'm trying to make fun of this, but if you got 500 friends on Facebook at your dealership, at the end of the year, you market to 500 people because it's always the same 500 people. So think about how much money you spend a month on those 500 people. They better be buying a lot of cars from you. If you have 8,000 people going to your website, 4,000 are uniques, so there's 4,000 new people coming every month to my website. There's almost 50,000 people going to my website a year. Where should I market? So I'm not saying social media is bad. What I'm going to say is that whatever offer or stuff you put on social media, put it also on your website. This is a local dealership. They have all kinds of, this is a local dealer group, they have all kinds of content on their social media. They got offers, oil change, you name it. They got all together about 2,000 and something friends. The traffic to their websites on a year basis is almost 300,000. They have no content or offers on their websites. Everything is on the social media. Rethink social. The flow has to go the other way. Put on your Facebook, hey, we got tremendous offers. Go to my website and check it. A lot of dealerships do the other way around. Go to my Facebook and check it. Wait, your website, and I say that later, your website is the ultimate destination for your customers, not your Facebook. And again, I'm not against Facebook. I'm just saying use both. So this is my Facebook. And I got to tell you one thing. You do not have to have any friends on Facebook to advertise on social media. You can pay Facebook, and you show right here. So there are people trying to sell me sunglasses. I bought them actually, and they came from China, and they were so fake that it hurt my eyes. Just so you guys know, don't buy the sunglasses from Facebook. They're dangerous. But they were $20, right? So I had to do it. And but you see, so they're marketing to me. Facebook has to make money, and it's great, and they will keep doing so. So traffic flow needs to change. It needs to go from social media to your website. Add links on your Facebook that sends people to your website. This is what you see most of the time. This is Ford of Kirkland. Ford of Kirkland does a great job. This is the Facebook. I know most of the guys that are showing in these photos. They got a great team of people, and they spend a lot of time putting this on Facebook, and they got 400 friends. So nothing goes on their website. And I thought, maybe we should put this on your website. Oh, I don't want to be on the internet. But you're already on the internet. You're on Facebook. So one of the things that I told them is start building pages about what you guys do and who you are at the dealership. Start building the pages in your website, not only on Facebook. It is very easy. And you can do things like Ford Escape sold in Kirkland, and if somebody's from Bellevue, you do Ford Escape sold in Bellevue, and also you're playing on that keyword expansion. I do recommend dealerships also. A lot of dealerships spend money on charities and local events, and I do encourage you to use your website, not to advertise that you spend money on charity, but actually to bring awareness about those 50,000 people that go to your website. Use your business. If you are really into the community work that you do, use your website to bring awareness to the issues that you are working with. Yes?
Yeah, in the former example, where would that live in this Ford of Kirkland website, in the internal blog?
You know, that is, you can put it in the blog, you can put a tab that says social media, you can put it on About Us. Really, I mean, everybody, you know, that is, you know, depending on how you guys feel internally as a business. But I think that what is important is that as a customer, it's amazing. Dealerships have these like social media, they look like great people. You go to their websites and you can find who these people are or how they look like. So we're leaving like two different strategies on the websites. Social needs to go beyond Facebook. Social needs to be in your website. So microsites. This is what Toyota really wants to talk about. Microsites are nothing but the quality content that I told you about is stored on an independent website. And the reason why microsites are interesting is because they allow you to compete very well for a high value search. Microsites, you need to understand sometimes what is the purpose also of building a microsite. What microsites do is they give you inbound links. Google has been saying for the last 10 years, you need to have links coming to your business, and dealerships have zero strategy having links. There used to be a way to pay people to give you links, and a few months ago, this year, Google came and destroyed and nuked that. So link sharing, link farming, gone. You can create a microsite that serves a purpose, that is a real website that may talk about Jeep diesels in Everett, that may tell people how to fix your Jeep and diesel and all that stuff. And you have to think sometimes about microsites. It's not something that you own, like you own it, but it's not about you. But the microsite has information for people interested in Jeep diesels in that area, and you just have a banner and you just have a link to your website. I don't have my computer connected, but this is a video. This is Matt Katz. This is the guy that breaks everything in Google. This is the guy that came and did all these updates this year, the Panda update and the Penguin update that changed the world of SEO. And he just put a video, we found it, Nick Gordon found it the other day. He put a video that said, we have this new tool that if you have a link, you can actually send it to Google and we will index and update the link plus the place you're linking to. So, oh, really? So I can have a microsite and I can tell Google, I have this asset, I have this link that links to my Toyota dealership, and I want you to make sure that that connection is registered in Google, and I want you to update the content that this place is linking to. And he says, yes, you can do that 10 times a month. All right. So Google likes assets that offer localized information that link to bigger businesses. And the reason I think they like that is because they realize that you can't have everything in one place. So they allow you to divide it and do that. So microsites are interesting on things like this. Chevy Silverado Piala, Chevy Piala, not in the search. Of course, they pay. Cobalt has this fantastic pay-per-click program that you can pay them to show every time you want. But the microsite shows there for free every single time. To be fair, we put Chevrolet Silverado. Chevy dealerships show very bad under Chevy. They show okay under Chevrolet. But most people don't search Chevrolet. That's what Google says. So if you type Chevrolet, then Google spends even more money. So they bring other Chevy dealerships from the area. But the microsite is still right there. Now, Cars.com shows number one. Microsites create referral traffic. That's one of the major things that Google checks. There's two types of traffic that go to your website: direct and referral. And that's it. So it must be important that we have some referral traffic. You can check what referral traffic means and what it is on your Google Analytics. I'm not making this up. And let me move real quick into microsites for service. And I'm not so interested on, whether you sell one more oil change or not, but I'm interested on where can I show that is automotive related, so I don't bring people just to buy beer to my website and bounce. Automotive related that are like high traffic. So one of the things that we were amazed is service. So we start doing things like oil change Bellevue. This right here, yellow, is pay-per-click. The amount of money going into service pay-per-click is unbelievable. The amount of money that goes into that. The bluish one is Google Places. The number one in organic is our microsite. Not even one franchise dealership in Bellevue shows under that term other than that one that I built the microsite for. So before I build the microsite, if you wanted to change your oil in Bellevue, you would not find a franchise dealership in town willing to do it for you. Jiffy Lube and everybody else that changes oil, they're willing to do so. If you move into terms like transmission service, where actually you make some money, it just goes one level higher. The amount of money, and Google tells us that, I'm sorry that you can't see it, but I wanted to show the whole screen. When you type transmission service Bellevue, Google gives you all these options because they're high search terms. Terms like transmission service, transmission repair Bellevue, very high search. Look at the amount of pay-per-click. Look at the amount of independent stores. Not even one franchise dealership in Bellevue shows when you type transmission service Bellevue. Not even one. Now, to be fair, once you add the make, once you say something like transmission, Volkswagen transmission service, once you put the make, they start to show a little bit. But amazingly, we put Volkswagen, and the local Volkswagen dealership in Bellevue didn't show. They show only on pay-per-click. So they are willing to pay to show, but they're not willing to build on their website a page that says, hey, we service transmissions in here. If you got a VDOT and you live in Bellevue, we'll fix your transmission for money. They're not willing to say that. Great opportunities. Microsites are very interesting for what I was just mentioning. Things like diesel trucks Everett. Look at Big 4 Ford right there. Big 4 Ford knows that there's 400,000 people living in Everett. Big 4 Ford knows that diesel trucks is a very high search in Everett. So they pay-per-click. But that is our microsite. Use diesel trucks for selling Everett. Very easy to show under those terms. Microsites are also great if you guys want to build like this Korean market. You can build content on your website, so it'll be something like infinityofkirkland.com/Korean. But if you put an ad on the Korean magazine, the Koreans have a ton of magazines. That's kind of the way their market works. It is easier to have something that says infinityofkirklandkorean.com. If the manufacturer doesn't allow you to use Infinity, you can do things like Korean salesperson selling cars in Kirkland, however you want to do it, but you can get easy domains to remember for people, so you can use them in print media, TV, and so forth. Redirects no longer work. You cannot buy a domain, link it to your website, and have Google index that domain. That used to work, doesn't work anymore. So don't buy domains and just link them. If you don't build under the domain, they don't do anything for you. Don't stress yourself about buying domains. Some people call me days after these type of events and say, I just bought 2,000 domains. Okay, what are we going to do with it? You can't buy all of them. Anyway, there are too many variations. If you're not going to build the stuff with the domains, don't buy them. Now, I do recommend, every make has its own policy, so read your policies and just work with that. Don't buy all the dealers' names. Just don't do those things. But buy all your names. Buy all your names. That is the one that is worthwhile spending $100 a year and make sure you own all the variations of your name. It's just good that you have it. You just point those to your website. They don't get indexed, so the manufacturer is never going to complain because there's no way for anybody to find them unless somebody specifically types it and only you know that. But I think it's good as a business that we don't allow somebody to buy our name with a variation and one day we have to try to figure out who it was, sue them and get it back. Buy your domains, have them on your account, and just have them linked to your homepage. If the manufacturer doesn't allow to link them, then just have them sleeping in there. But buy your names. Same as quality content. I like things like forsale.com, use, make, model, year. So those are good names to buy. So trucks, diesel trucks for sale is no homage. That's a good way to nick a few clicks a month from Big Pharma. So reviews, and I think that this is my last piece, so I'm almost done, almost, you guys can almost kick me out of here. What I'm gonna talk about is not how to handle your reviews. I'm just gonna talk about purely content-wise, all right? So there are tools like DealerRater, Yelp and stuff, that's what they do, that's not what I do. So what I'm interested with reviews is from an SEO strategy point of view. Reviews offer a really great way to gather unique content about your business. Don't take a photo of an email and put an image on your website. I see that people doing that in 2013, people are still doing that. You need to actually get a text. You need to get a text review and put it on your website. I really like to put reviews on the BDP pages, and I'm going to show you that in a second. I like the visual effect of that. I like that when somebody's looking at your car, you're most likely already checked who you are. They can still check who you are. Having their review next to the cars, don't sway anybody suddenly. If you're a pirate, then you're a good guy. They have seen before who you are and they'll see it again. But I think it's a good reinforcement because we live in a world where reviews are important. I think it's a good reinforcement to the point that we actually put the reviews on the vehicle pages on mobile. When somebody's looking at your mobile page, they're looking at a car, I even work to put the reviews in there. So we have it in there for that reason. I like the visual effect. This is our house, this is our business. I think that we have the right to show who we are. If you want to see, if you don't believe us, go to Yelp, go somewhere else. That's okay, you can check that. So this is where the reviews are on the BDP. We don't put them on the customer face, that's the BDP. And again, this is not a strategy for reviews. I'm just telling you it's a good thing if you want to have a website. Now, this is how they show on a closer look. This is how they show on the page. No tricks on this thing. Now, the reason why I brought reviews as content is this is an Infiniti dealership, and you think that they got these reviews in here. So this is a tool called SureCritic. It's a fantastic tool. I think it's $200 a month, and they call your customers and get the reviews. Great system. Use it. However, here's the problem for SEO purpose, only. This is framed in the dealership's website. So when Google looks at the code, which is that window that I opened there, when Google looks at the code, Google sees your page and then they see a hole. Because that is going somewhere else. So from an SEO point of view, those reviews have no effect on your website. I'm not saying that reviews should be done for SEO purposes, but they can be used. And if you're going to put them on the BDP, you say there's no way to put these ones on the BDP because they're on a different system. So final notes. Unique content will make your website index better. When you have unique content, we also see that Google crawls your website more often. They see that there's new stuff. If you own a website, and for the last 10 years, there's nothing new other than the inventory or a couple little changes, Google may crawl less often because there's no new stuff coming to them. Different types of content will increase the indexing on your website. Indexing is how many pathways Google has from people doing searches and coming into our business. The more pathways, the more chances that we have that they'll come to our business rather than cars.com or AutoByTel. What we achieve is that if they come to our business, we create the lead. If they go to AutoByTel, we have to pay for the lead. That's the only difference. External digital assets like microsites and blocks will also increase the indexing because they're giving the right signals that Google says that they need to have. A lot of the stuff that I show, you can do yourself, you can hire somebody to do, You can hire somebody and do part of it. This is not an extremely difficult, unique code that I just showed you today. This is stuff, if you dive into it a little bit, this is easy to do, and you can do a lot of this on your own. This is it. If you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I know you gotta ask me something. Now, thank you. And